tax, but that just continues to go up. I will talk a little bit. I'm actually going to talk right now. I guess I'll just jump in here. I don't know how much you guys have followed, but the softwood lumber prices have spiked again. So in September, we saw the prices basically increase from $460 per 1,000 square feet to almost $950. And that spiked in mid-December. So that's a 106% increase in the cost of lumber. Lumber is a huge portion of the cost of a home, and it affects all the wood products in the houses. And then you saw it drop back in mid-November. We dropped by $550 back to $550, and it's like, okay, we've got some relief, 42% decrease. Well, back in January, then we see it shoot back up to $920. So we're almost back to the peak again. And you know, there's been a little tapering, and everybody's telling me that we expect some decline, but that's a big hit. I mean, that adds, you know, basically said when it first hit, it's about $15,000 per home cost increase. Just that lumber. I mean, you add in all these other elements we're going to talk about. That lumber price was just a huge, huge impact. So we talk about land, labor, and lumber are the big pieces of what we do. We're also, as of Monday, the new energy codes hit. That we'll talk more about that, answer some questions. I know Corey will talk about some things he's trying to do, but we actually got a delay all the way through to July 1. The State Building Code Council, we promoted this and pushed. The council voted to delay, understanding the realities of some of the challenges, COVID and the housing crisis. And then right before the deadline, Governor Inslee vetoed and pushed it back to February 1. And it's interesting, the counties came out and cities, and the reality is they can't increase their permitting fees until the new codes are in effect. So they wanted the money. So they wanted to implement this faster. And so they are also, that also adds to the cost of a house. So again, housing affordability is not something our, at least our state seems, and some of our counties in the west side seem to care about too much. It's not a big issue for them. The other piece is regulatory uncertainty. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but right now there's big issues that are being discussed at both the state and federal levels. Is that one is the gas tax increase. I don't know how many of you are following that. Petroleum costs, when they go up, that increases the cost of multiple pieces of building materials. Also, the gas tax, it just costs more money for our suppliers to get material to the job sites, other challenges. Of course, we're going to have road restrictions here shortly, which we deal with every year, but those things do add to the cost of a home. The contractor liability, right now, there's bills already. We've been talking on our weekly conference calls with our lobbyist in Olympia. They're looking to add more restrictions, more liability on contractors, even down to where you know, the contractors to be liable for everything, basically the general contractor, and that will affect the cost of a home. The other ones are the GMA additions. Every year, there's always, because of environmental advocacy, so climate change type issues, but the Growth Management Act has a number of different elements. I think there's 10 different elements to the Growth Management Act. They're looking to add 2 more additions. So when the counties and cities plan for growth management, they're going to have to look at salmon, the impact on salmon, and also climate change. So they're going to have to factor in and land use policies. They're going to actually have to have a conversation, including their comprehensive plans and how that's going to impact climate change. So that is a significant cost driver of what we're looking at. And then of course, at the federal and state level, business taxes, you guys are all business people, but builders are businessmen and women too, and they're going to face these same business taxes that are hitting everyone else. So if it's a capital gains tax that the state implements, that impacts the cost of doing business. And so the overhead of all of our builders will be significantly increased. So those are big pieces that, you know, it's amazing what's happening, but there just isn't we talk about how housing is a priority, but it doesn't always seem to be. And so we're actively working on this, but I'm going to share with you just sort of a quick update, and like I said, we'll have more time to talk about this here, but if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to pull up the building permits. And so, okay, so hopefully you guys can all see this now. I've tracked this back. If you scroll down here, you'll see I've gone back to 2002, I believe. And so you can see all the numbers, and I can always share this. I've shared this with you guys before. So like I said, Groundhog's Day, here's, if you look on the left side, you're really looking at the total single family detached permits. And if you look even quarterly, we're basically just consistent. And I know there's differences. I'm not saying it's just absolutely correct, but you know, we've sort of reached a peak back in 2016 as far as total single family detached permits. And now we're sort of slowly declining. We actually saw a 5% decline in single family permits in the last year from 2019, 2020. Part that's COVID related, some of the other issues. But some of this also was actually bumped up because of there was one builder, not to be named, actually filed when he thought the building permits were going to be filed on July, the energy codes were going in July 1, he actually submitted 80 single family permits. And so that's also, those homes aren't going to be built for a while, but those were filed in June. And so that does make an impact. But if you look, the other interesting thing is total units has actually gone up. So multifamily has actually risen as a total. We're still nowhere near what we were doing in 2016, 2017 as far as multifamily, but that has increased and over the year. And so we are seeing some gains in multifamily. So total units is increasing. It's not really condos, and some are duplexes. Definitely duplexes jump, but we're actually declined on duplexes. So those are different pieces. And then Corey, you know, this is where I really wanted Corey to talk a little bit about is the building and energy code update. You know, there's a lot of things, but what we're going to have is February 1, so starting Monday. I know today, Corey and others are probably down at the county filing building permits, trying to get vested before the new code's going into effect, or already have submitted those permits. But that's going to really impact the cost of a home. So Corey, I don't know, I know you've spent a lot of time working on this. Can you talk a little bit about the impact of the new energy codes?
Yeah, absolutely, Joel. Thank you. Yeah, as Joel mentioned, we are experiencing a plethora of regulation and taxes and increased material costs and labor costs breathing down our necks. So that's why you're seeing these home prices just skyrocketing here. And frankly, I don't see much of an end in sight. They're going to keep continuing to rise this entire year, I believe. As far as energy codes, here we are Monday, February 1st, enacting the new codes, and our building officials don't even know how to handle it. They don't know how to approve a building permit, how to inspect for it yet. So we are 2 days away from a new code and have no direction from our government on how to address it. So we as a company are simply throwing $20,000 at the price of the home to cover any potential increase in costs until this shakes out. So we're adding $20,000 to our price as of 2 weeks ago to cover any potential closing costs. And that goes along with what Joel touched on earlier with the increase in lumber prices. It's costing us about $14,000 to $20,000 a house right now on framing and trusses alone. So just between those two items, we're talking $35,000 to $40,000 of increase in a blink of an eye, which is a huge dramatic amount. So we should be able to, we're proposing to the building officials on a method called modeling to get around to, instead of throwing, say, solar panels at a house, you know, to meet the new energy codes. We're looking at a modeling system. The building officials haven't approved that yet. We're expecting them to do that. If we can get a modeling method approved, we're probably going to hover around $5,000 to $6,000 more for a house. So we as builders and an association are pushing hard for that. And that's to be determined yet. Did I hit it all, Joel?
No, I think on the energy codes, that's perfect. And again, you guys have talked to you before, there's little elements, you know, that they have a prescriptive path. That's what's caused the problem, where they tell you exactly what you have to do without saying, hey, I can prove that my house is performing. And that's what Corey's trying to show, is my house is performing well, we're meeting the goals, but we can do it better than what they're telling us exactly how to build a house. Or they don't a lot of times factor in the input of the actual builders in the industry. The other pieces, and this is one that Corey is very passionate about. As you guys know, I did say that, you know, COVID didn't, you know, again, I was looking at total permitting numbers when I said that it didn't impact us. one of the big issues that's hit us this last year is permits and also getting plats approved. So we're trying to actually create more inventory, but the county especially, and these are our friends, generally, we thought highly of the county. They've always been as flexible as they can trying to help. But they had a change of staffing. They also had limitations due to COVID, where their actual individuals that staff in the building permit department were actually staying from home, working from home. And then also they have union issues too. So they can only work so many hours and other things. So what happened is we were going from, and talk to our new government affairs chair, Jim Warner does work throughout Washington over to Idaho. Spokane County went from the best permitting to the worst in our area. And this is looking, across the eastern side of Washington state. And so basically what happened is you could get a permit 7 to 10 days on a building permit generally, especially if you had a stock plan or a multi-use permit. And those went from, to 8 to 10 weeks or more. And so I want Corey to talk a little bit about the impact of that delay. And then he talked to you a little bit also, Corey, if you could hit on the platting issues where they just basically stopped doing reviews. The hearings examiner basically just during this, we didn't know, they basically just started not holding hearings.
Yeah, so they've made it very difficult to run a new home building business. You as realtors know that you need a closing date, and you need a closing date that's that you can hang your hat on. And we work hard to not make you as realtors turn you into liars. We try to hit that closing date the best we can. With the delays and the unknowns, what we're being forced to do is stretch out. Instead of a 6 to 7 month build, we're quoting 10 months. And because it can be 10 months, but maybe it could be 7.5 months. So that's our hands are tied. We don't have answers to give you the answers you're looking for. And also you mentioned, Joel, earlier that there hasn't been, the building permit numbers are consistent over the years. The only reason they are consistent is because the government has failed in their work duties, and the lack of labor, skilled labor in the market, which Joel touched on. That is what's capping off these building permits. These building permits, if they were following the demand of the buyers in the market, we should be 4 times what we have the ability. The market has the ability to absorb 4 times the amount of the building permits we got in 2020. And we've hit the ceiling on the county's ability and the amount of builders and skilled labor in the market. We are cranking out as many units as physically possible. So that permit number is being affected by COVID and is being held down or capped off at that, whatever that number was, Joel, 1,800 or 2,000.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, Corey's nailed it. And so all these issues are impacting it. So it really goes back to, like I said, the skilled labor, the land issues caused by Growth Management Act. As you guys, I've talked to you before about this, but we've got a settlement agreement that basically they can't open the urban growth boundary to 2025. I know there's some questions that Emma shared with us that you guys have submitted on issues with, again, is there access to available land? And I know Corey's looking every day. Our large builders take up, I just ran the numbers again, as you look at that 1,450 building permits, there's 4 large builders that they pull about 30% of those permits. Some of those builders have locked up land going forward, so other builders are not able to. They're building inventory, or large property owners are just holding on to their property. We also have challenges with large lots. We have a single home on a 5-acre parcel in the urban growth boundary that you can't force the people to sell. There's a price they will sell at, and I've gotten arguments with City Council Member Mumm about this in public. We've had public arguments about this, and the reality is that there's always a price people will sell for, but is it market price? So those are challenges. So Corey, can you talk a little bit about your challenges in securing land? Because that, or at a reasonable market price, not just securing land, but can you get it to a price where you can actually sell a product that's actually viable for the realtors to sell?
Yeah, that's a good point. As I'm sure you all know, the available land is dwindling, developable, if you will, land. Um, what magnifies that problem is if you do get a seller on a 5-acre parcel that you could develop into a little neighborhood. The Spokane County hearing examiner, when the COVID shutdown happened, they quit working. He hasn't done any work for the last year on approving any more new developments. So that's why you're seeing these lot prices. I'm sure you're seeing this. 10-acre parcels and residential lots are skyrocketing in price. It's because the demand is there and there's no more inventory coming on. So supply and demand, you're seeing prices of lots go crazy. You're seeing $250,000 lots being sold, say on the rim of 5 Mile, that 2 years ago they were $110,000. So they're doubling in price because of the lack of attention from the county hearing examiner.
Yep. And one thing also we're seeing, in outside interest because of the growth of Spokane and this high demand, some of the large national builders, we've already got, D.R. Horton, Lexington Homes is a D.R. Horton company. They're chewing up land. They have the ability, they can go and invest and sit on land for a period of time. They can write off losses. They're a big corporate listed, stock exchange listed company. We also have it's sort of rumor right now, but I've had a number of people talk to me about it. And I believe I have not gone downtown and see their office, but Lennar Homes, which is the second largest home builder in the nation, is looking at Spokane. And so those big, large builders can absorb a lot of land in a short period of time if they choose to. And so those are things just to be aware of, that those are also challenges for the mid-size level builders who have been the bread and butter of Spokane's market for years, and they build great homes for our citizens. It's gonna be tough for them to secure land when you're competing against an individual can buy volume land purchases.
That's exactly right.
That's what we're looking at. So it's just, these are challenges that we're facing. I saw there's a couple of questions on the chat board here. I know that Christy, permitting issues is that we've talked, we've sat down, we've had multiple visits with county staff. As I told you before, one of the challenges is the county didn't have a very good system in place going into this. That's, just blunt. They got away with just sort of relationships over time. They trusted certain people. That didn't mean they didn't look at the permits, but they had a good crew. And if you came in, you could visit, and they know that Corey's a good guy. He comes in, he knows what he's doing. They move your permit through pretty quickly. And there weren't a lot of changes, but what's happened is now they've had a staffing change, other issues. And they lost COVID too, threw them off gear. They don't have a structure really to their systems. The city of Spokane Valley has the exact same online permitting system as the county, and they're actually keeping up pace. And so it's really I would say, I don't want to be too blunt, maybe Corey will be that blunt, but incompetency in the management of the system. They lost their head of the department about 1.5 years ago. Randy Bisha was great. He was there for a long period of time. They had another staff came in and then left, and James Moore is their current building official. And then their planning director, who's been there forever, is at the end of his career. And during this time, he didn't take any risks and didn't really try to change the system. Like I said, the unions basically won't allow some of the workers down there. They want to stay late. They want to help catch up, but they can't. The union won't allow them to do extra work. So there's good people down there, but they just don't have any real strong leadership right now. Al French has gotten involved, it's technically he's not really supposed to, but he's talked with the county executive, who's also near retirement as well. The county executive is also, he actually retired, then the county commissioners during COVID asked him to come back to help him get through this period of time. So it's just the county commissioners want to see change. They don't know how to change that. And there's some limitations because of union issues, how much they can really do. But other than changing staff, they are trying to hire a new person. But that's been a real challenge, but we will ask if there's any help. Now, this the hearing examiner issue doesn't make any sense to me at all. I've not got a good answer yet. We're pushing every day. One of our goals, I don't know if you guys met Isaiah Payne, our new government affairs director. He's tracking. We're actually trying to help the county, like actually, I would say do their job, but we're trying to help them, teach them what they can do better based on other best practices in the industry. So those are things we're doing. Corey, I don't know if you want to add anything on that.
Yeah, if I can just probably wrap up this part of the subject matter, there's some questions over here from Hamby and Marie Pence. Just asking, what are we doing to help this situation? We as Spokane Home Builders Government Affairs are putting pressure. We're working side by side with Darren Watkins as well, and your government affair director. And we're putting pressure the best we can with the resources we have to correct this issue. We're not getting a lot of tangible results, but we're doing the best we can. Marie, you were asking about current market to absorb all of this. What's your expectation? So I expect sales to be strong for the next 2 years with the new administration, though, who knows, but and the appreciation, like I mentioned earlier in our presentation, it's going to continue to go up. And unfortunately, what we're doing is setting ourselves up for a crash. These prices are going to get so high, they're already too high, they're going to get higher. When those interest rates start coming up, which that's the only way they can go is up, we're going to hit an abrupt slowdown, if you will, in the near future.
Yep, absolutely. The market can't continue this hot.
No.
Good. Everybody's telling me, my financial advisor says we've got a good, with the stimulus coming in, it'll keep us going through 2021. After 2021, all bets are off.
Yeah, put your profits aside for a rainy day, because I think, I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, but there's one in the makings. You want to go on to another subject?
No, I just wanted to see if there's any questions. I guess that's where, those are the big points I want to talk to. I mean, we've got a lot of issues that I could talk about, but those are the big issues we want to sort of address. I know that Emma sent us a few questions. If there's other, we'd like to address questions. I know we've had a couple come through here, but oh, Emma, there was a question about modeling, Corey. Oh, you're on mute, Corey.
Hi, how are you? So I was trying to address Emma's question about, could you please explain modeling? That goes back to the energy code requirements. There's two methods. Modeling takes a computer model of the house, compares it to how we were building houses in 2006. The new energy codes requires us to be about 47% more energy efficient than we were in 2006. So that's what modeling does. It models a house according to the different codes, tells us what we have to do to a house to bring it up to that 47% if we have to, with maybe a heat air exchanger, some different types of hot water tanks and furnaces that go in, insulation that go into the houses. And that can be addressed, like I said, at that $5,000 mark. The other method is, it's called a prescriptive path method. So you create energy points by putting certain energy efficient products into the home. For instance, you can put a bank of solar panels on a house and get energy credits for that item. That's the costly way to go. Energy panels are running $12,000 to $15,000. So there's your $20,000 house method, is picking parts out of the code that you can get energy points versus the modeling system. And that's the answer we don't have from the county yet, is whether they're accepting the modeling system or not here on the 11th hour.
Perfect. And I have a few questions that have come through to me. I'm just going to keep throwing them into the chat because other people are throwing them in there as well. If you guys want to just kind of look at the chat, see if there's anything you guys have good answers for. I'll just type in the answers that I've gotten, or questions I've gotten straight to me, and you guys can pick and choose which ones make the most sense to answer.
Okay. I know Marie Pence had a question on the energy code dates. The governor, honestly, we don't have a great relationship with the governor, never have. He's been anti-builder for a long time, doesn't like housing growth. And of course, climate change is his big issue. We're trying to meet all the standards. Our builders, if you look at the homes, and Corey, I'm sure could talk about this, but going back 20, 30 years, the quality of the homes, energy efficiency, the air quality in homes is so much more improved. It's just that diminishing marginal returns. You add more cost, it is significant cost. You're not getting a significant gain for the amount of cost. You're not factoring in the cost. That's one thing they don't talk about is how much these, even there's already, it's just no, they actually have approved the 2018 or the 2021 building codes are in process right now. They're going to add even more restrictions without factoring in the cost. So there's always a desire to have more, but it prices out. And then the one thing is that I guess I want to relay is if you're building $1 million house, a lot of these pieces are already included. So it's not going to impact the higher end buyer because they're already building a very high efficient home. The starter home that we're looking at, and of course, new construction starter homes is $350,000 now, which when I first started here 20 years ago, it's under $100,000. You can build a house for 100 in Spokane, a new construction home. They're the ones that is really hitting. It's the entry level is that cost because they're having to really, they're playing right at the code. So when you raise the code, it's not impacting the higher end buyer. It's the entry buyer. And so that's where the biggest impact is hitting. And you're having to raise the standards. And yeah, you're going to have a better quality home, but at what cost? And just those are the issues. So we talk about and home ownership and go back to governor. I mean, initially he didn't include housing as essential. We were never considered it, even to this day. The governor's never considered housing essential, even though 46 other states said housing was essential in COVID. We were not included. He let us go back to work, but he never said we were essential. I consider housing and shelter essential. That's just my belief. So.
If I can follow up with Emma's question, is there a specific trade that seems to be greatest shortage right now? No, there's not a specific trade. They all are, all skilled labor, all suppliers. There was a message earlier in the week about why do we see appliances being delayed so much? It is every supply chain and every workforce that goes into a building a home is struggling. Got a client that's lived in the new home for a month now, and they still don't have shelving in their pantry closet. So there is back orders on every house, which is delaying and frustrating everybody. How do you get the starter home for $250,000? That is now a unicorn that doesn't exist in new housing anymore. Right now, our starter homes for the companies in that market are up over 300, as you've probably seen. I see a starter home being over 350 by the end of this year, which blows my mind.
There is a bill we're working on with Senator Mike Patton. It's something that Jim Frank started a couple. It is getting a little bit of traction this year in the state legislature, basically to remove a couple of issues related to condo bills. It's basically a condo reform bill. As you may know, there's a lot of issues with condos where they have a lot of liability concerns. The trial lawyers love to use condos as a sort of a marketing pitch so they can earn more business. I'm not saying all lawyers are bad, but trial lawyers as a whole push hard on the liability on these. So there's a piece where you have to have, even on any size of a condo, if it's a 6-unit condo versus one that towers in downtown Seattle, you have the same regulations. And it's the same exact building style as a apartment complex, but because it's called a condo and it's shared ownership, they have more rules, and so they add a lot of costs. You have to have an envelope consultant, and only 3 envelope consultants that state allows are on the west side of the state. So you're going to pay $1,500 just to start to bring them over to Seattle, or from Seattle to Spokane, plus all the costs to that. So they're trying to remove that requirement for the envelope consultant and a couple other elements in this bill. So there was a bill a couple of years ago that did pass, but it was passed unanimously, and any bill that's passed unanimously really doesn't have a ton of impact. And so it eased a little bit of liability for the actual condo owners, but didn't help the actual developer. So that would be one area you could get a owner occupied unit. at under $250. That's one of the areas, and some of the maybe townhome style developments that are tighter build, smaller, you might be able to do the tiny homes. In this market, I don't know if that's going to be a successful model to get the houses down. People don't come to Spokane to live in tiny homes. There is, a couple intentional communities that are being built. I hope they succeed. I don't have an issue with them. It's just those are unique. You only have certain types of people. It's going to be a niche market, and I don't think it's going to make a significant change to our overall cost.
Question for Emma. Thought changes in the blue state of Washington for energy codes will affect other local home building in the red state of Idaho. Same scenario as if you're living close to the Idaho line and you live in Washington, you head over the line to get your fuel, your booze, your tobacco. It's the same thing with housing. We are pushing these houses up so high. Idaho has less restrictions on land use. It's going to keep pushing buyers across the state line.
Some of our multi-state builders, the Vikings and the Haydens and Greenstones that build both back and forth. I just talked to one of them. I won't get into the who's and how's, but basically they're building many more houses over in Idaho than Washington just because of some of these costs. They can secure land. They can they don't have some of the restrictions. Idaho actually historically had slower building permit times, but now with our increases, not a big difference. So. They're more willing to accept growth than Washington is.
What percent of new construction is being financed versus cash sales? I'm seeing more and more cash sales in my market that I build in a year ago it was 500, now it's 600 to 900 or so. That is a result of the immigration of people moving out of the big markets because they're failing over there with their government structures. The I-5 corridor from Canada down to San Diego. So those folks are getting out of that environment, coming here to Spokane, and they have a lot of equity. And so there's more and more cash sales for new construction because of that. That's another reason why our market is staying strong, I think, is because this money is coming into our area, which unfortunately is hurting our locals severely. We don't have the income levels for the locals to get housing here locally, which is a shame. Are we seeing any new trend requests for luxury homes in Spokane? Yes, we are, Hamby, for the same reason I just mentioned about the cash versus financed homes. Immigration's coming in, and immigration's coming. Corey for governor. That's funny, Randy. Immigration's coming in. They're coming in with money, and they're able and willing to pay these prices. I'm not running for governor.
They have a ton of equity based on the sales. The Seattle West Coast market, rapidly escalated in cost before even Spokane did. So they're able to take that equity from their houses. I mean, 10% growth on a $500,000 house versus a $300,000 house. They saw that same amount. So they've got this equity, and and theirs was actually growing faster than Spokane. And so they're just a tremendous amount of equity, and they can work here. Their jobs are still in Seattle. They buy a home here, and they can, with the ability for new technology, Zoom, other elements, they can still work. And even some of their employers, especially in the basically San Francisco market, basically told them we're gonna shut our business down and not have a large office space in downtown, and you telecommute and work offsite. So that's one of the challenges. I guess business models for Spokane has been a great thing.
Why the delay in appliances? What time frames? So the time frames are unknown. That's the problem. The distributors can't tell when their next shipment's going to come in, if their orders are going to be on that shipment. That delay is the same reason for every supply chain. Manufacturers are shutting down for 2 and 3 weeks at a time because of a COVID outbreak. Same thing happened to our cabinets, our windows, our doors, lumber mills. That's why, another reason why lumber is so high, other than we can't get Canadian lumber here, but manufacturers are shutting down and working with the social distancing requirements and so forth. And it has just slowed our supply chains to a crawl and unpredictable, if that.
And there's a question about floor plans, Corey.
Yeah, floor plan. I am seeing, and that's another reason why the immigration's happening. Is because COVID's taught the world that you can work from home as a company. You don't need to rent the downtown 3-4 floors of the skyscraper anymore. So that's another reason why this immigration's coming to Spokane, because they can bring their Seattle-based pay, Boeing engineer, if you will, pay over to Spokane and keep their job and keep their income. So for that, they do need an office. So I'm getting more and more requests for office space in homes. As far as land goes, the biggest, hottest seller that I can tell, I don't have the realtor stat, you guys can call foul on this if I'm speaking wrong, are acreage properties, because they want to get out away from people, but they also want high-speed internet. So acreage properties on fiber, high-speed connections, those properties are going fast. If I can do a little plug here, I'm partnership with a group that's putting in 80 10-acre lots just north of the Deer Park airstrip. Gated 50 or so will be privately gated 10 acres, and they will have high-speed fiber optic internet service to those properties. I expect them to go fast. We only have 9 of our first 16 lots available, with the remaining 64 coming online in the next 18 months.
Yeah, the appliances is a big issue, and as Corey mentioned many times, is that I've heard stories where, builder will get 2 of the 3 appliances for the kitchen, but they can't get the same matching dishwasher. Those are challenges. You might get some trickle through, and then there are appliances sitting in shipping containers from China. I mean, a lot of our materials are parts of the materials are waiting to be delivered. It's transportation, other elements, to just the whole supply chain from the start to beginning. And like I said, even getting materials cross borders is not easy. Canadian lumber is not easy to transport from Canada and the United States. There's a lot of restrictions. So all those pieces, the supply chain is just broken right now, and it's going to take some time for it to get back to a normal setting.
I got called to the mat by Carol Capra. She's got a good point. Why would we have a crash in 2022 if we keep getting I-5 corridor buyers? That is a very good point. I'd like to think that would hold true to get us through there. Spokane is set up to experience less, I think, of a crash, if you will, or a slowdown than other parts of the country, because we are a secondary market and the big markets are going to secondary markets. So I would like to think that trend would continue through 2022, which would keep us strong here in Spokane. Good point, Carol.
Okay, we'll do a last call for questions for you guys, so that we can get you guys the other previews of some premier properties. Any other questions you would like answered before we free Joel and Corey and let them go have fun with all this new stuff going on?
I've been asked the price point from our new area of 10-acre high-speed internet. We're $120,000 to $150,000 lots going there right now. I think they're pretty darn affordable, and they're only going to go up from there.
That is one thing, which is growth management. It's more development in the outlying areas of, just like you've seen in Vancouver, Washington, Seattle. You're going to see an expansion of Deer Park, Cheney, other areas. That's where the growth will occur at some point.
Awesome. Well, it looks like everyone's starting to say thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you guys both so much for coming on and giving those great answers to questions that I know everyone has right now. Really appreciate it. And Oh, one more question real quick. Is your new development with city water?
No, those are wells. Yeah, and I do want to say, I'm sure there's more questions. I'm available. Feel free to call at any time if you want to talk in a little more detail about this stuff.
Corey's the expert. I'm always available to answer questions as well.
I think I have everybody buffaloed then.
Hey, Corey's going to be the president of the Spokane Home Builders Association next year. So he's the first vice president. So he's a great guy.
Yeah, I'll send a follow-up email for everyone as well. I have this video or this whole meeting recorded. So to everyone who's on the call, I'll be sending out a follow-up email with a link to the recording. So you can watch back if you want to kind of refresh everything we just talked about. I know there was a lot of information. I'll also put Joel and Corey's contact info in there if you do want to shoot them a message for more questions. Yeah, other than that, I think we'll move on to letting a couple people present some of their new Premier listings. Corey, Joel, thanks again so much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Otherwise, have a great day and we really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Good luck out there, everybody.
Yes. Okay. Everyone else. So we have a couple of Premier properties that are listed right now that we are going to allow our agents to share with you real quick. They're beautiful homes. I'm going to unmute you. Jill Klinke has the first one up on this presentation. Great. And I'll unmute you as well, Marie. Where are you? There you are. Okay. So I'm going to unmute both of you just so when your house is showing up on the thing, feel free to narrate it, explain it, share some info with everybody on that property. And I will share my screen. Okay. Sharing. Okay, are you guys, let me make this big for you. Everyone able to see that?
Yep.
Does that look like your listing?
Yep, that's my listing.
Perfect. I'll press play and go for it.
Okay, so situated on the Spokane River, this eloquent craftsman home was showcased in the 2015 Fall Festival of Homes. The 5,000 square foot home has a no-step entrance with knotty pine tongue and groove ceilings that are featured in the covered front entrance through the main living area and followed through the covered back deck leading to the Spokane River. The main level features engineered hickory hardwood flooring, oversized windows with remote window treatments, large stone fireplace, and custom-built bookshelves. The kitchen showcases hickory cabinets, 38-inch high countertops with custom rough edge granite. All appliances are high-end Thermador with extra large refrigerator, 2 ovens, and a walk-in pantry. The office, situated on the upper level, is 200 square feet, has amazing views of the living area and beautiful Spokane River. The primary suite is highlighted by a cozy electric fireplace, custom shelving, spacious bathroom, has heated flooring and walk-in closet, has small slider for easy access to the laundry room. French doors lead you out onto the covered deck to the hot tub, stunning grounds and river views. The property features 400 feet of the Spokane River, a large 40 by 60 heated shop, greenhouse, chicken coop, private dock, and views of Deep Creek and Centennial Trail.
Great, thank you.
Listed at 1.68.
Perfect. So if anyone has questions on that, reach out to Jill. I'll have this video attached to the post meeting email as well. And Jill and Marie, both contact info for both properties that are being shown here. So feel free to reach out on those. Now we will go to the next property over on Ballard. Okay, and you guys can still see this screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Just making sure. Great. Here is property number 2. It'll just transfer there in just a second here. Sorry. There we go.
Good morning, everybody. I know you guys have seen this back and forth. So the owners just moved out in the last 6 weeks, so the house is officially empty, and had the handyman and painter in there to get everything touched up and ready for the next buyer. It's a beautiful 52-acre estate with a caretaker's home attached. It could be equestrian property. They don't want it advertised as just equestrian property, so we've gone back and forth. The gentleman's shop, which you see there, is set up for 3 stalls. There's obviously arenas and pastures, a lot of extra space. That's the guest home below, and the barn behind it is set up for 6 additional stalls. That's the working barn. The other one is the gentleman's barn. It's empty now, so the furniture isn't there, and it looks larger and brighter. But it's obviously a 6-bedroom, 7-bath home, 550 square feet. And it's listed 2 ways, one without the guest home with just 48 acres for 2.675, and one with the guest home for 3,400,000. And I'm going to be there today with Back 40 Media, excuse me, getting new pictures inside with it vacant now. I'm going back and forth with Heather, but I'm hoping that the blue skies make it look great inside. So if you guys have any buyers, our biggest conflict we had a conversation about is there's no fiber for internet. So they had, each of them had multiple businesses and ran off a Terra business account. Never had any issues. They're having a lot of attention from the West Side, Portland. I've shown it about 6 times in the last 6 weeks at this point, and a lot of the problems with internet. So that's what people see as a problem, even though it wasn't a problem for the Nordstroms. It's something that we are definitely having conversation about. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much for that. Thank you everyone who has stuck around. Great, and at this point, I will send that post meeting. It takes a little while for this recording to process, so it probably won't be till later this afternoon, if not tomorrow morning, just because things are slow. But I will get it out to you, I promise. The recording, the contact for both Corey and Joel, and everything for these 2 beautiful properties you just saw. So if you do have a client who's interested or have any questions, you can reach out and get more info. At this point, I will leave the chat on for you guys. If anyone wants to turn on their cameras, just say hi to whoever is on still. You are free to do so. Unmute your mics, turn on your video, just catch up with people you haven't seen. I'm going to be turning my video and sound off. So this is completely on you guys. Do what you want to do.
I told him to sleep for 2 hours because I was going to be 2 hours before I went to work. So get him to sleep so then he'll be all in.
Yeah, well,
Are you leaving right now?
no,
Okay.
I need you to, I'm gonna leave for a second.
You need to mute.
That was a great presentation.
Andy, who's behind you?
What was that?
I'm wondering who's behind you.
Oh, that's Queen.
That's awesome. Good presentation today, everybody. Thank you.
Here we are. Hi.
Who's with you, Pam?
Nikki Peck. Mickey Peck. Hello.
I want to thank you all for the opportunity. It's an honor to get in front of all the agents here. So thanks again.
Thank you,
Thank
Corey. Okay. Hi, Jill. Bye, Jill.
Hey, Nikki. Hi, Pam.
Good job. Well done. Yeah, well done.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay.
Looks like we've lost most
Hey,
everybody.
Emma? Oh, Emma, what is that background? That's not real, is it? You're on mute.
No, it's not real. No, it's a
I
fake one.
love it. I'm like thinking because I've got these. Oh, that's what white brick would look like with the.
Yeah, no, I love it. I have white brick in my house, so I was like, oh, this kind of, it doesn't, my house is not nearly this cool, but I do have white brick fireplace, so this is as close as we're getting.
Oh, it looks great.
Thank you. Next time we should teach people.
Yeah, so we can come up with future ideas, but yeah, thank you guys for jumping on today and participating.
Next time we should teach people in the very beginning while we're waiting how to put their office in as they rename themselves, so we can see where everybody's from. We only got a couple who did it this time.
Sure, yeah, we can definitely do a quick tutorial.
Since we used to go around and do the around the room where everybody is from, it might be an easier way to do it online.
Right. Zoom makes it hard for everyone, but okay, well, I'm gonna start another meeting here in about 3 minutes. So I will let you guys go so I can start another one.
We'll see you there.
See you in a minute, Chris and Pam. Yeah, I'll see both of you guys in about 3 minutes.